All right. Hey, we should be live now. Fantastic. So, hey, welcome everybody to our May 2021 GEG Ohio Google User Group meeting. So happy that you guys are with us here today. This is a monthly meeting. Well, mostly monthly. We will be taking off some time here during the summer, but a monthly meeting where we take a look at everything new in Google for Education from the last month. We share Googly tips and tricks, and we answer questions related to using Google tools in school. My name is Eric Curts, and I'm a technology integration specialist up at the Stark County Educational Service Center in Northeast Ohio. We serve about 35 school districts up here in Northeast Ohio. And I am joined today by a couple of co-hosts. We'll start with Stephanie. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Stephanie Howell here. I am an instructional technology coordinator with Pickerington Local School District.
Fantastic. And we also have John with us.
Hello, everybody. This is John Mansel-Pleydell, and I work for Northern Buckeye. We're in the northwest corner of Ohio, and we serve about 40 school districts up in that area. And I am supervisor of our professional learning group.
And we don't have Sarah Kiefer with us today. I don't believe she'll be able to join, but I always want to give a shout out to her as another one of our co-leaders. But we do each month have a special guest. And Alfonso, I don't mean to put you on the spot right away, but I see you've joined. If you want to say hi and do a quick introduction of yourself as well.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate being here. My name is Alfonso Mendoza, and I am an instructional technologist for a school district in South Texas, Sherryland ISD, and I am in charge of pretty much playing with software, getting to know the software, and of course, providing teacher training. So it's an honor, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, so great to have you. Thanks. Now, although this is a GEG Ohio meeting, we are certainly open to anyone. So no matter where you are from, we welcome you here. If you're viewing live or watching the recording later in the future, as long as you have an interest in Google tools in schools, we are happy to have you here with us. All of the resources for today's meeting, as usual, can be found in our shared Google Doc agenda. That can be found, if you don't have it open, that can be found on the GEG Ohio website, which is at bit.ly/GEG Ohio. So if you don't have the document open in front of you right now, you can go to bit.ly/GEG Ohio. When you get to that site, you can click on the link for monthly meetings. And then when you scroll down, there'll be a calendar of all of the meetings. Here's the May 27th meeting, and there's the agenda link. So you can always get to it there. I'm pretty sure I also put it in the description underneath the YouTube stream. So you can grab it there as well, whichever works well for you. This document is editable, so you are encouraged to add things to the document throughout this session. There's a couple of spots in here that might be especially appropriate. For example, there's an upcoming events section where we talk about conferences and webinars and PD opportunities. If there's things we did not include that you'd like to add in there, please type them in. That would be fantastic. There's also a section further down called Show and Tell, and that's where we share some of things we've come across over the last month or so. And there is a spot in there called GEG Community Show and Tell. And that's a great place where people from the community, folks who are watching us live or recorded, can go in and add in additional resources. So please feel free to add things there. And then lastly, there is a Q&A section. So if you got a question that you'd like to pose to the group today, feel free to go on down there and add that into that as well. And if you've got an answer to any of the questions, we would encourage you to type in responses there for anything that you can share as well. Awesome. Well, with all of that said, let's go ahead and get, oh, and also definitely throw things into the YouTube chat. Yes, I've seen the YouTube chat streaming by pretty quick there. So please do feel free to introduce yourself there, but yeah, ask any questions, share any resources through the YouTube chat as well. Well, let's go ahead and get on into our meeting. And we've already done our welcome and introductions. So under important links, just want to remind everybody to please sign in. There's a link here to a Google form. This allows me to generate certificates of attendance. After you've watched the live video or the recorded video, you can fill this out, pick the date of the meeting, and then later on, I will generate a PDF certificate of attendance to send that off to you. And it also allows us to report numbers to Google so we can let them know how many people have participated in our meetings. Below that, we've got some updates on our Google group that we have. And I don't think I updated this recently, so it may be a little bit larger than that number, but it's just a little bit over 1,000. We have a email distribution group for GEG Ohio. If you have not joined that group yet, there's directions here on how you can go out to join the group. And this allows you to stay connected in between the meetings. If you've got a question to ask, well, hey, there's 1,000+ educators ready to help you answer your question. Or if you've got something to share, a neat, PD opportunity or an awesome blog post you wrote or something that you want to share with the group, please consider joining our GEG Ohio Google email distribution group as well. All right, next up, we've got our section on upcoming events. I'll mention just a couple of them here that I'm aware of, and then I'll throw this over to Stephanie and John for ones that you've added or that some things about. So these are just PD opportunities that are coming up in the next few months. The ones that I would mention real quick, there's one that Google's putting on called the Anywhere School. And this is going to be a stream. It's I believe, pre-recorded, so it's not, there won't be interaction, but they're putting together this about an hour and 15-minute long pre-recorded video. It is on June 22nd, but I think also the 23rd maybe as well, depending on what time zone you're in. They're running it like 3 times. But you can follow this link that we've got here, and they're going to be sharing lots of updates and ideas related to using Google tools in schools and this. So definitely check this out, get this on your calendar so that you can get all this great information that will be shared at the Anywhere School on June 22nd. And it is, again, if you miss it live, the same links will take you to the recorded videos for that as well. And then the other thing I was going to mention, just because it's from my job, the Spark EdTech Conference. That's the conference that I help put on for my job here at Spark and the Stark County ESC. And we are virtual this year, understandably, on August 6th. We typically try for this to be the first Friday of August as sort of a, hey, let's welcome you back to school. Let's kick off the school year. Just wanted to get that on folks' radars and let you know that we still do have the call for proposals open and the registration link and the conference website. Since it is virtual, you do not have to present live. You can submit a pre-recorded video, and that's totally fine. Not a problem at all. Whatever method works best for you. We'll certainly will be happy to have some people presenting live that day. But definitely, I understand for some folks it works better to be able to submit a video that we will include on the conference website. So Stephanie, what things would you like to mention?
Yeah, real quick, let's go back to the Anywhere School. Deborah in the chat is asking if we're going to have a watch party again. So I threw in the question and answer. I put watch party ? Did you guys like it when we did a Google Meet? Did you like the Padlet where we were just sharing notes out? Let us know what you prefer, or maybe you have a whole new idea on how we can do our watch party again, or what you liked. But I really liked the Padlet, how we kind of had that back channel.
Yeah, that was nice.
But I am totally up for new ideas or doing something that we have already done. So just add ideas on the question and answer area. I just put like watch party ? Next with the events.
Yeah.
Is I've added level 1 and level 2. So Global GEG is running a boot camp for level 1 and level 2. It goes to a tweet, and then on the tweet, there's a Google form that you will fill out, or you can share this with your district completely free. The only thing that attendees have to pay for is the assessment. So I believe level 1 is $10 and level 2 is $25. So make sure if you do share that out, just let them know that they have to pay for their certificate, like their test. And they can also just do the boot camp for fun if they don't want to take the assessment. But you've learned so much this pandemic that I think people will be shocked at how much they have learned, and why not go ahead and get those certifications.
Awesome. Now,
Also,
how long does it run, Stephanie? I see that the start time is showing. So would that be like 9? No, would it be 11 a.m. Eastern?
yes, 11 to 1 Eastern.
Okay, I just wasn't sure what the end time was on
Yep.
it. Excellent. So level 1, July 10th and 17th. Will that be a repeat, or will it be like part 1 and part 2? Like
Part 1 and part 2. So probably
Excellent.
covering Google Classroom, Google Docs, Sheet, all of that kind of stuff. And then probably on the 17th is more like YouTube. And there will be a more detailed agenda coming closer.
Sure.
And make sure you do sign up, because that's where you will get the updated agenda and all of the upcoming information about the boot camp.
Fantastic.
Also, I think we're having a leaderboard. So we had like a gamified version. So you could also work on some Google skills. And I believe that's coming back. We've been working with Adam, and he is amazing. And I think it's up and running. We just have to get it out to the people that sign up. And the community has asked, how can you help? A couple different ways you can help. One is share it out. So just share all of it out with other people. And then another thing you can do is come to the event and help us in the chat, because the chat gets really crazy. And if you can be there to help answer questions about the different assessments, that would be amazing.
That is so good. Well, hey, thanks for helping to organize that, and for all the folks that are going to be participating in delivering that boot camp. That's a really valuable thing. Thanks, Stephanie. Anything else in the events that you wanted to chat about?
Yeah, the last one was the We Video Summit.
Sure.
And that's on July 20th through the 22nd. And I just put the website right there. It is a free conference that is going to be held this summer. And it is focused on We Video, but I think you'll be able to get multiple different skills out of this conference. Like I'm doing an SEL session with one of my counselors. So tons of resources there as well.
Yeah, I've noticed in the past, I know they had this last year as well. And yes, it was not just a We Video centric conference. It's more that they're sponsoring it. And yes, there's sessions that deal with that, but it covers educational technology in general. And it's free. Awesome. That's great. All right. Anything else? John, did you have any to mention there? If not, that's okay. Just wanted to check. No? All right. Well, if you guys know of some that we've missed that you would want people to know about, please add those in to the upcoming events so we all can be aware of those. All right. Well, we're going to move into the bulk of our meeting, which is what's new in Google. So each month we try to take a look at new things that have been announced since our last meeting. And so there's a little bit from April, because there's a couple of days after our last meeting that we're still in April, but for the most part, these are all from May. And up until even today, we've got stuff as new as today in there. Throughout the our little image moved here. So yeah, I've got to move our image now. There we go. That's okay. Yeah, we'll put it there. There we go. But throughout the month, we try to keep an eye on anything new that gets announced, and from the Google blogs or on Google's Twitter feed, things like that, and put them in here. And then we try to pick a few that seem to be at least to us, the most relevant. And those are the ones that we've bolded. So as we go through this portion, we're going to be talking about the ones that are in bold. If there's something here, though, that you're interested in that we have not bolded, please let us know. Throw it in the chat and ask about it, and we'll be happy to discuss any of these things. And certainly you can explore them on your own as well by clicking on those resource links there. But we'll go ahead and kick things off with our first one. Stephanie, did you want to start out, or do you want me to start out? I don't mind either way.
Sorry, the doc lost access, but I think it's fixed now.
Okay.
I can start off.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So the first one we're going to talk about is showing editors. So let's go ahead and open up that link.
Sure thing.
And what you're going to be able to do is it's going to be able for you to kind of view the information more quickly, and you're able to pick out who changed something in a doc from a certain range. So this might be really helpful if you have students that are maybe messing around with your document, or maybe, I mean, we can't really do it with this one because whoever changed the sharing settings, I don't think we can check that yet. But on here, you'll be able to simply highlight, right click on that range of the text, and then you can see who did it. And so it will have the timestamps, and it will have also the list of editors. So that way you can kind of see, okay, who did it and what time did they do this at, just to make collaboration a little bit easier to track.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we've had this information in version history for a long time, and we can still go into version history, but to be able to so quickly pull it up for a specific section. So like, let's go up, for example, and like if I highlight the section on We Video and I do a right click, I should be able to go to the show editors section there and see that it was Stephanie Howell who added that. And so without having to go into the version history and, scroll back to try to find something, how convenient is that? That's really nice. I like that. Now, did you say the doc was having trouble? But
right now it's view only. They're trying to type in it and I don't have access to change.
Oh, I'll fix it.
I was able to change it out of Spark. So
I'll fix it.
Okay.
Sorry about that, folks.
There you go, guys.
should be okay. Now you probably have to refresh the document if you were not able to make changes to it. Now, if you go in and do a reload of the document, you should have the editing abilities back again. Thanks for letting us know. Appreciate that. All right. Next thing, as far as an update over this last month, was a change to how Google Docs is, how it's rendering, how it's showing the information on the document. Now, some of this sounds a little technical and you're like, well, why would we be interested in that? It's more about a heads up as to the impact this could have specifically on Chrome extensions. So basically what's happening is Google is switching how a Google Doc displays. It used to be what they call HTML-based rendering, and they're moving it to what they're referring to as canvas-based rendering. And we're going to see some of the benefits of this as we talk even here later when we talk about, for example, the ability to add images now in front of or behind your text. I believe that, probably is a outcropping of this switch to a canvas-based rendering rather than HTML. But again, you may say, that sounds really technical. Why is this important? Well, it's more a matter of, yeah, let's get excited about we're going to get some cool new features that are going to come out, but it's more about the concern that this could impact some Chrome extensions. So if there is a Chrome extension you're using that affects Google Docs, but it was built in such a way that it was interacting with the old HTML-based rendering, heads up, some Chrome extensions may not function properly. Now, hopefully, whoever created that extension will make some changes to it and now it'll work well. And there's not like a list here of, hey, these are some examples of ones that might be an issue. It's really just, we're just going to have to be aware of this. So I guess I just wanted to say heads up if you start noticing extensions not working, or if you've got students or staff who are like, hey, I've been trying to do something and suddenly my extension isn't working anymore. This is a possibility. This may be one of the reasons why that could happen. If that's the case, yeah, if they don't update it, that extension just might not be viable anymore. But hopefully developers will be able to make changes as need be. So more than anything, we just wanted to head off a possible problem by letting you know ahead of time about this update that is rolling out there. All right, let's see what we have next here.
Next up, we have the classic sites are going to the new Google sites. And for this one, Eric had used for the Spark conference, the old Google sites.
I know.
So you might want to start moving things over if you are still using those classics or you have websites. But they have announced that they are replacing the sites with the new site. And they've also announced, like back in May 15th, you're no longer able to create those old type of sites. It's no longer available. But now they have a nice dashboard in the admin console where you can kind of manage the classic sites. So you can see how many sites are in your domain that have been created under that old site. So if you scroll down just a little bit,
Okay, sure thing.
there's the picture of it. And again, you can see the name of it, who's the owner, when they last edited it. And then you can also view how many times has somebody clicked that link in the past 30 days. Just to kind of see like what are people still using old sites for? Are they able to convert it over?
That's really good to see. Yeah, that'll really help folks be able to, because I do still have several sites that are in Classic, and I'd even forgotten about some of them. We've used Classic sites for so many things in the past, and you just I kind of forgot that I had. And so using this tool is a great way to be able to be like, oh, yep, that's right. That's another one I need to convert over. I think if I remember right, what did we say last month? We have until the end of the year still to convert things over. So that's good. But that's something we definitely need to start focusing on. So we got about 6 months or so to really go through all these old ones and get them converted over.
And I think too, it's important to know that this will be available for any type of Google Workspace that you purchase. So essentials, in like education fundamentals, I have to learn all the new names.
That's good.
But
so free and paid.
Yes, yes.
Well, that's good. Because that'll be a really helpful tool for people to identify those. Yeah, I need to spend some time working on that this summer. got a lot of sites that need converted, and probably a bunch of folks that I need to contact and say, hey, you've still got a Classic site. So that's good. Good stuff. Thanks, Google, for helping us with that. All right, let's see, what do we have up here next? All right, the next one is a little update on information about Google Meet meeting codes and when they expire. This has been a question that I think has been around since Meet first came out, where people are like, so how long does one of those meeting codes actually work? Are they good forever? And it seemed like people were unfortunately sometimes abusing that. Students might be using codes to join meetings without the teacher there, things like that. Well, they've finally clarified all of this, and it depends upon how you generate the Meet as to how long that meeting code will still work. And so, for example, let's say you use Google Calendar. So what's going to happen is that meeting code is going to be good. Any Google Meet you create with Calendar, it's going to be good until that code has not been used for a year. So 365 days. And then when that meeting code is no longer associated with any future calendar events, as long as you don't have it, still coming up as well. And so that's a long time that code would, still be viable. But then other things, are kind of different. So like, a nicknamed meeting, when you do a nickname instead of an actual, 10-character code or 12-character code, that expires instantly. As soon as you leave the meeting, as soon as the meeting is over, that code that got generated from the nickname, that particular unique code is no longer viable. So a lot of options here. I think for the most part, people are now more comfortable with how to control who can and can't join a Meet by going in and, for example, disabling quick access so that people can't just, jump in, and, creating a Meet from Google Classroom or from a nickname to be able to control who is able to join. But this helps clarify how long those codes are good for. So wanted to share that with you guys. Awesome. All right. So I don't know, this next one, Stephanie, this is a big one. We can kind of pick and choose and, talk about what jumped out to you, but these next two kind of go together. Actually, the next three all go together. So Google had their I/O conference just, what was this, about a week and a half ago. And it was virtual, of course. But this is their developer conference. So it's not really education specific, but there's things that apply to us as educators. This is their developer conference. So it covers pretty much everything new that Google is working on and so forth. So I did put a link in here to the YouTube stream so you guys can watch the entire keynote. I think it was about 2 hours long. And they do have in that keynote, they have, if you want to jump to specific sections, I won't actually play this. If you go down to the show more, you can jump to different sections in there. And then they took a bunch of the things from the keynote and they had this couple of blog posts where they highlighted some of the new things that were coming, that were announced at it. For Google Workspace, they had 12 specific things they listed. And then they also had a nice blog post that I pulled up about one of the AI tools they mentioned at it. So I don't know, Stephanie, do you want to start? What were some things, anything in particular from I/O that jumped out at you? And then John and Alfonso, if you guys have things, if you watched it as well, and there's something that you thought was really neat. Stephanie, what would you like to mention out of it?
Yeah, so I really like the new collaboration in Google Workspace. Which is the next link down, I believe.
Which one are you looking at?
The 5/18/21/12 Google Workspace updates. Let's go ahead and go there.
Absolutely.
And so what they're going to do is it's going to be a new way to kind of use Google Docs, slides, and sheets. And it's interesting because when I was watching this, I was like, oh, I don't really need to hyperlink anymore. So all you have to do is put the @ symbol and then you start typing and it will either pull a name or it will pull a document in your Google Drive, which is pretty cool because I'm used to like highlighting and then going to the link option and then adding the link that way. So I think this could save us some time by quickly typing and tagging people into the document. I also like this because it's kind of like an action plan. So you're creating maybe a plan for a team and you guys are about to do something. So maybe this is your teacher-based teams. Maybe it's a PLC meeting where you're working with your personal learning network. And you can say like next steps, this person needs to do this. And then you tag them right onto the document. And so then it's like, okay, we have some action steps onto who's going to do what. You could tag students if you're working on a class project together. Maybe you're conferencing with a student and you're going to say like, this is their next steps. This is my next steps. So I just thought that could be really helpful for getting maybe some of the work that needs to be done and working on those next steps. There's also checklists. I don't think they check though.
I think they do, don't
they? Oh, do they?
Yeah. So that's further down here. It's on one of these. If it's not on this one, let me pull up the other because I got a couple linked in here.
They do. Yes.
Different blog posts that they posted had GIFs for different parts of the updates. So yeah, that one, let me see if I can make it bigger here so we can actually see it. So it's like one of the things that Google's doing is they're adding in, I guess I want to call them templates, but it's not a separate document. It's like a pre-made template to go, right into your document. And you can see a little bit of that in here, like with this project ideas. The person did not actually take the time to insert a table and add, it was sort of like a pre-built template that they were able to add in, and it made this table with this little voting tool over here on the side where people can vote things up and down. And like you were mentioning, the checklist, we've got the ability to do bullets now, and we can put in boxes for the bullets, but this is an actual checkable checklist there, and it crosses them off and everything. That's
so
cool.
And I love the upvotes because it's like, okay, here are some ideas on how we can solve this problem. And then you could have the team upvote which one they like better or where they should start. And then it's like, okay, this is where we're going to start. So I just thought that was really helpful.
And some of these things have come out, some have not. I don't believe, no. We don't have the check boxes yet. They show in the previews that they're going to be right next to the numbers and the bullets. There'll actually be another button here for the check box option. So that has not rolled out yet. Some of these, are just announcements for what's to come. And also inserting these pre-made, tables. I do not believe any of that has come out yet either. These are still just announcements at this point. All right.
And then if you just
go ahead, yeah.
Keep scrolling, you just keep seeing more and more updates. So like Google Sheets, there's that timeline type of view, which can be really helpful. Cool. And then the next one is really cool. It has Google Meet built into Google Docs. So all you'll have to do, I already got the button already. I'm really excited about it, but I can just present. I can't actually have my video in my Google Doc, but that I think is going to be a really nice feature because I know for me, I needed 2 monitors, 2 different screens to look at when I was doing presentations this past school year. And so now if I can just have the Meet right into that one tab, I won't need that extra monitor. Or if I'm out and about, it will just be nice to be able to have them right inside of that doc and maybe help me focus more instead of going between tabs and having that multi-focus going on and multitasking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you're right. So we do have the button to present the document to Meet. So like if I go up to the top here and I click on the little present to a meeting, I can present to a meeting. But what's awesome, like you said, is one of the features they're going to be rolling out with that is not just the presenting of the document to the Meet, but to actually let you see your colleagues inside of the document. So it's not like there's the Meet tab and there's the document tab and they're separate from each other, or when you're in Meet and you're presenting, all you see in Meet is a uneditable version of what you're presenting. You actually have to switch over to the other tab to edit it. This is nice. I mean, this feels more like, when you think about using Zoom and having the little floating panel of your attendees, and you can move it around to be able to have the people over to the side, and you can work in the document while seeing everybody. That's nice. That's
I think it brings a whole new element to the idea of collaboration, because if you are having, and we use this a lot, there are 4 other people or 5 other people in my group that meet and we collaborate all the time, and we have used the chat feature or we're in a Google Meet separately, but Stephanie's right. If you've only got one monitor, having all that in one window is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and then in the chat, we've got some other people that watched the Google I/O.
Yeah.
And they were saying that some of their favorite features or some of the new upcoming is they're really excited about Google Maps, which that did look really cool. So with Google Maps, I don't know if we had that on our agenda.
I did not put a link. I mean, it is in the keynote
this
here.
Is more
so if
personal.
You watch it, right. I did. There are so many cool things in the keynote. I did not break out here because I didn't think they were specifically educational, but go ahead and talk about the maps.
Yeah. So with maps, like if it's 5 p.m., maybe restaurants will pop up instead of coffee shops, where in the morning, it might be 9 a.m. and then you'll see more coffee shops popping up on your Google Maps rather than those restaurants. So I thought that was really cool. Also, they're working on bikes. So getting like bike paths put on the maps. And then I'm trying to think if there was anything else with maps. And hopefully Deborah can help me if I missed something. And then Jay mentioned he wants to talk to a paper airplane. You want to talk more about that?
Oh God, yeah. So I love AI. I love AI stuff. And Google has been a leader in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and especially in natural language processing. The ability to say, here is an actual sentence, and then Google's AI dissecting it, figuring out what it means. This allows them to do translations. This allows them to process your search queries. It allows the Google Assistant to answer your questions. Well, they have taken another giant step forward, and they're calling it LaMDA. And this blog post here talks about it. But if you go to the Keynote, you can, I think it's in the first probably third of the Keynote. If you, and I'm sorry, I did not put a link directly to that spot in the Keynote, but if you go up to the IO Keynote, it's pretty early, and they're probably about 10 or 15 minutes into the Keynote. And basically what we're looking at here, and I can actually hear because I'll pull it up here, and it's easier for me to probably just show to you guys. Okay, yeah. So what they've done is they've taken. I was actually at that spot. That's very convenient. What they've done is they've taken this artificial intelligence, this machine learning tool they built, and they've allowed it to have access to just a massive amount of information. So it is not like some of the earlier AIs we've seen that are trained on one specific narrow thing. Like I love AlphaGo, where they taught the AI how to play the game Go, but that's what it does. It just does Go. It does one thing. This is not limited by that. You can basically ask LaMDA anything because it has knowledge from all over. And what they did in the Keynote was they showed where they asked LaMDA to pretend it was something. So that first they said, pretend you're Pluto, the dwarf planet Pluto. And then they had a conversation with Pluto. And then here they said, pretend you are a paper airplane. So I'll go ahead and I'll play this for you. And I would encourage you to check. So it's around the 20-minute mark where I'm at, but probably around 15 or so is where this kind of starts at here. But let me play it real quick for you.
Synthesize these concepts from its training data. These concepts were not hand-programmed in the model. Because none of the responses were predefined, LaMDA answered with sensible responses, keeping the dialogue open-ended. Natural conversations are generative, and they never take the same path twice. And LaMDA is able to carry a conversation no matter what we talk about. You can have another conversation without retraining the model. Let's see what happened when we talked to a paper airplane.
What's it like being thrown through the air?
It's quite the experience, actually. The wind blowing against you, and the trees flying past are quite the sight. You never know where you'll land either.
What's the worst place you've ever landed?
That would have to be in a puddle. I was just barely still intact, so I was stuck there for a few minutes. It was quite annoying.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Now I'm going to mute it there for a second to talk over this a little bit more. So they talk back and forth a little bit, and then there's a really interesting question that they ask here in just a bit. And I was impressed by the depth of thought here. So here it is.
Well, my good friend, I must first ask you to specify what you mean by good. Some may think it's how far it goes, some may think it's how straight it goes, and some may think it's how flat it lands. So what do you think?
I care the most about distance.
Then I would have to say a nice wide wingspan is what you'll want. Also, the paper needs to be really firm.
So, I mean, asking a question like what makes for a good airplane, it was able to say, well, I need more information. Here's some possibilities of what good might mean. And none of this is scripted. This is all coming right from that AI. And so this sort of stuff really excites me because as AI continues to develop, it can be such a support for our students and for us. And we're getting to that spot where it's starting to, cross that line into, I don't know if you guys used to use, what was it called? Eliza way back in the day, where it was like a psychiatrist program and you would talk to it and it would just repeat things back to you and pick out some keywords. It's like that, but so many generations beyond it. So really excited to see how this will impact education. Now, Stephanie, you had an interesting idea before we started broadcasting today that wasn't specifically about AI, but it was about this concept of having a discussion with something. And what was your thought about that?
Yeah, when I was watching the Google I/O conference and this came up, I was like, why have I never thought about using this in education? Why did I never have students interview or have a conversation with whatever they're learning about? So maybe they're learning about fractions. And instead of like going step by step, make it more of a conversation. So like, hey, how do I add fractions? And then like, maybe they're like, well, you would, like explain the process, but in more of a conversation back and forth type activity. And I think I learn a lot when I am having a conversation with someone and asking questions back and forth. And I think sometimes if we maybe turn that into education, this could really help students be more engaged, because I was like, if I'm researching about paper airplanes, I don't care. But when it was with that AI, I was like more engaged. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is the life of an airplane, or that is, they landed in a puddle, and oh my goodness, with that information. But if I was reading that, I wouldn't have that emotion effect towards it.
Well, that's awesome. And so that doesn't even require AI. It's just taking the concept of a conversation and applying it to any learning task that the students are doing. That's neat. Love it. Well, guys, anything else, Alfonso, John, Stephanie, anything else from I/O before we move on to some of these other updates down here? Anything else that really caught your attention? Or did you see things in the chat that other people mentioned that they really got excited about from I/O?
I'm really jealous. A couple of our friends have the check marks in their Google Docs.
They've already got the feature. Yeah, I don't have it yet. Yeah.
So I'm a little jealous about that.
That means it must be rolling out right now. So this is not something coming months from now. It's rolling out at the moment. So that's great. Well, I would really encourage people to take a look at the recording. It's 2 hours long, but don't forget, you can adjust the speed. So when you're in watching, even like the video you're watching right now, I would definitely encourage people, if you're watching this recorded, change our speed. You can speed us up. Just go down to the gear for the settings, go to playback speed, and you can adjust it. I watch a lot of things on 2 times speed because you can listen way faster than they talk. And then you can always turn it back down to a normal speed or pause it if it gets to a spot that you need to dig into a little bit more. So even though this is a 2-hour keynote, you can get through it in an hour and then just, pause on the spots that you're interested in. And there's a lot of stuff that's not educationally, specific. That's really cool. They've got some really awesome updates to Google Photos, and you mentioned Google Maps, and, a lot of things like that, that it's definitely worth checking that out. I would say that of the things we mentioned there, they all made me, pretty happy. I like the table templates in Docs with the voting and all that. I think the timeline in Sheets is going to be pretty cool, because a lot of times, whether it's like a social studies teacher or somebody wanting students to develop a timeline, there's a lot of good timeline tools out there. But this will be a really neat option where you can basically, in Google spreadsheets, you'll be able to put in all of your events on the first tab. That's what the first tab here. Here's all of the, each row is a different event, start date, stop date, links, and so forth. And then you'll be able to generate a new tab that is a timeline tab, kind of like making, a chart tab or a pivot table tab. You'll be able to make a timeline tab now. And it looks like it's, interactive. It's pulling that information, and on each one of these, it's putting that in there. So you can click on it and then pull up the related details for that event. So be a nice option for generating timelines. All right, good stuff. I'm going to clean up a few of my tabs. I've got.
And as you're doing that, I love what Nicole said in the chat. She's like, so the 3 before me can now include AI, which is kind of funny. Like, we're able to use all this technology so that kids don't need to rely on us as much as they are or have in the past.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Well, hey, we're going to keep on moving just because there's a lot to look at, but don't let that stop the conversation. If there's something else you had a question on related to IO, or a comment, what you liked about it, throw that in the chat and we'll swing back around to it. But we do have a few more things that we want to talk about that are new before we move on to our show and tell and Q&A. So let's see. Next up, we have Google Photos getting a new tool to help you estimate how much remaining storage you have and suggesting photos and videos you may want to delete. So I know this is probably a little more personal than education, but I'm sure a lot of folks in education do use Google Photos, as well. I certainly use it mostly for personal use on my personal account, but Google did make a change that starting June 1st, we no longer have unlimited photo and video backup in Photos, which that's sad. I really, really liked that. So it's going to start counting against our storage, and you couple that with the change that we learned back in February that, Google Workspace is no longer going to have unlimited storage for schools. Then we got to start looking and saying, okay, are there things I need to clean up? So Google Photos now does have this option where you can go in and get, if you go to Photos, now this is my work account, so I don't think I hardly have anything on this. My personal would be quite different. So my storage is, that's going to be different on there. But for my personal one, when I clicked on it, it told me you have X number of, months or years estimated left at the rate at which you're putting pictures into your Google Photos. And then when you get into the app, they're adding an option to go in there and get suggestions for what you might want to get rid of. So like, hey, we found all these blurry photos. Maybe you should clean these up, things like that. So it'll go in and help you identify what might be beneficial to get, cleaned up out of Google Photos. So anything like that to help us is appreciated, especially since they've taken away the unlimited storage. Hey, it's nice to have these other options for us to clean things up. All right, what's up next, Stephanie?
You can kind of already see what's up next. We've got a nice little emoji in it. You can finally add text behind, or you can add images behind text. And so if you go up, if you click the image.
Sure, and I can actually go to the very top here of our, I can click on like this image up here, and I guess that would show it as well.
And then there we go. So now you can see that you have multiple options when you click that image. So you can have it so like it's all in a line. You can have it where it wraps the text, which we've always had, where it breaks the text. But now you can do behind the text and in front of the text. So it might just kind of help with some graphic design work that you might add to different worksheets, or maybe if you have some EL students and they might need some of those visuals or emojis to kind of help them with certain words, maybe you add those behind the paragraph to help them with that vocabulary that they're trying to learn. So it just could be some fun ways, or have your students get really creative with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, boy, I can't believe it took this long to get this feature. I mean, that's one of the when people talk about what's the difference between like Microsoft Word and Google Docs, I've always had to say, well, one of them is image placement. We don't have, there's, wrap text and there's inline, but that was it. If you wanted to put an image behind the text, you had to go to Google Drawings, you had to go to Google Slides. So think about graphic design. In the past, we've always been like saying, okay, you pretty much have to go to Slides, and Slides is still probably going to be one of your best options for making a brochure or a flyer. But this is going to open up a lot more creativity if we can put images in front of and behind text for brochures and flyers. A document becomes more viable. Also, watermarks. I don't know if people use watermarks that much, necessarily, but if you want to draft or something like that on a document, this would allow you to have, the word draft in gray behind the text. It also provides more fidelity when transferring something from Microsoft Word to Google Docs, or from Google Docs back to Microsoft Word, which I totally get. If folks are like, I've got years of files that are in Word docs and I'm so frustrated, I'm trying to use Google, but I upload the file and I go to convert it and the picture's all over the place. It's all a mess. This is going to give us a lot more, accurate translation of a document from Word into Google Docs. So long time coming. I'm so glad we got it, but we should have had that, I think, a long time ago. But I think it's part of that, the new Canvas layout that they're doing, though, with Google Docs. I think it's giving that ability to do some more things like that. Awesome. Very good. All right, the next one here. So this is kind of an interesting one. It's a renaming of something, which is the master view in Google Slides getting renamed to Theme Builder. Now, I know recently Sarah Kiefer, who's not with us today, one of our co-leaders, she had done a whole series of videos on how to edit the master slide in Google Slides, and it's wonderful. It's a great series of videos that talk about that. So of course, after you just get done making all the videos, then Google has to go and change the name of things, so I totally feel that. But what's interesting about this is, their reasoning behind the change in it. They're talking about wanting to eliminate non-inclusive terms from their products and to be more inclusive with their language. And so in this case, it's the word, master, as in master and slave, and the connotations that brings with it, and saying, theme builder, that's a better term. That's a more inclusive term to use rather than, the master slide. So I think it's an interesting topic, because, especially since this last year, I think, the discussion around Black Lives Matter has been much more in the forefront, and especially in education, we as well have been thinking a lot more in addressing this topic a lot more. I do wonder, if this is, just one step that Google will do towards some other changes. For example, in the admin console, if I go into my admin console and I go to my domain setting, there's still terminology such as like whitelisted domains. Would that be another example of a term that may get deemed non-inclusive at some point? And we've seen a lot of tech companies move away from whitelist and blacklist, and they now say like, a block list or an allow list or things like that, as opposed to using terms like, whitelist, blacklist, and as well as like, the master slide, for example. So I don't know. I don't want to put anybody on the spot with a conversation, like this. But John, Alfonso, Stephanie, if you had any thoughts on that, I certainly would welcome those. But I'm pleased to see that the move Google has made with this renaming in their products. All right, excellent, very, very good. Well, what do we have next here? What is our next thing up, Stephanie?
So next up is with Google Photos. So a couple things with Google Photos on today. You will be able to, in Gmail, be able to click a button kind of like where we have like save to drive, download, all those quick buttons. Now there's finally a save to photos button. Again, I feel like this should have been out maybe a couple years ago, but it's just a great way to quickly save different photos to your Google Photos. So that way it's less clicks and it can just go straight to there.
Yeah, because normally you'd have to like download it, then upload it, and sure, it's great that we've had save to drive, but saving to photos, it does say it's only for JPEG images at the moment. So, definitely get a lot of PNGs and things like that as well, and GIFs. So that hopefully they'll expand that, but that's nice and convenient. Well, I think that brings us to our final update, and then we'll pause and kind of see if there's anything that we've missed that people have comments on. But the last thing just mentioned today is an update to the rollout for the new Google Meet user experience. So we talked about this last month, big update to how Google Meet is now going to look with all the, controls at the bottom and the ability to unpin the presentation and to move yourself around and all these great updates to Google Meet. I'm not sure why they got delayed, but there was a delay. And so they have updated when the actual rollout is going to be on these. Initially, we were supposed to start getting, I think it was like really early May, like, May 3rd or something like that. We were going to start getting the rollout of this. And now they're saying for rapid release domains, it has just now started rolling out. So just a couple of days ago, it may take up to 15 days for it to roll out. I still don't have the new one on my work account. So it still has not made it to us. And then scheduled release domains, it won't be until June 1st that it starts rolling out. And then 15 days after that, it could take for that to happen. I do have, for those that still need information on that, that was one of the posts I did last month. I'm going to have to scroll back just, there it is, the new Google Meet layout. And so if you want to learn more about what that layout's going to look like, I've got a 5-minute walkthrough of that, and then screenshots as well of how the new Google Meet layout is going to be. So you can definitely check that out, but heads up, you haven't done anything wrong. If you haven't got it yet, it's not your fault. It's still rolling out. So, some folks are saying in the chat that it did show up for them. Oh, well, that's wonderful. Good for you. I just checked mine earlier today and it had not come to my work account yet. All right. Well, hey, John, Stephanie, anything we missed? Anything show up in the chat? Anything you guys need to add before we move on to show and tell? And if not, that's okay.
And Jay just kind of put in the chat, is anyone seeing it only part of the domain when it rolls out? And yes, we've seen that in our district. Like one of the teachers will be like, I have this feature. And I'm like, I don't yet. And I don't know how they pick who gets what when they get it.
Yeah. Sounds like there's some randomness in that. I did see Star had a question about alt text for the images. So let's see. I don't know if I can click on the image anymore now. It's behind. I don't know if I can get to it because it's behind everything there. I'll go up to this other image here. So if I click on an image and I go into the image options, the question is, do we have the ability to add alt text? We've got size and rotation. We've got the wrapping. We've got adjustments. We've got recoloring. Unless I'm missing it, I am not seeing the alt text option. I know in Google Slides, we have that. So Star, my quick answer is going to be no, unless somebody else notices this and I've just missed it somewhere. I am not seeing in Google Docs an alt text option for the images yet. Okay. All right. Well, hey guys, we're going to move on to our next portion of the meeting now, which is show and tell. So this is a section where, rather than news, what's been released new in the last month, we talk about, neat things we've come across. Maybe it's a project that, we've done in our school, or maybe it's a new extension that we found, or a cool blog post we came across, or, any kind of resource like that. And each month we try to have a guest with us, and we always start off with our guest. So Stephanie, I'm going to let you introduce Alfonso, and we'll let Alfonso start. And then after that, we can run through the rest of us with our show and tell things. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, so I am so excited to bring Alfonso on, or the Fonz. He is a leader GEG Tex, well, one of the Texas. There's like 3 Texas GEGs, which blows my mind because in Ohio we're just like, we just got one because we're such a kind, cute state. But Alfonso is a superstar. He has a podcast and a YouTube channel that he talks with other educators about their ed tech life and really gets to know them. And it is such a good listen. And Alfonso is just a great person. He is a blue. He really cares about people. And so I'm so excited to have him come on and share a little bit about what he's been doing in ed tech.
All right. Well,
now,
thank
Alfonso,
you.
I can unshare my screen too if you would like to share. Will you be
Yes,
sharing some stuff? Okay.
Yes, I would love to share.
So
Thank you.
I am going to unshare my screen and turn it over to you. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. As Steph said, I am one of the leaders of GEG SOUTX. You know, like she said, there are several Texas GEGs, but of course, because Texas is so big, we definitely need a lot to cover. So very thankful for the opportunity to be here and the invite. And like Steph mentioned, I do have a podcast where, you know, it's just connecting educators and creators one show at a time and really knowing their stories and getting to know the person. I know that, you know, many people are very well known and renowned, you know, in education, but I just have just a common casual conversation with them just to get to know their passions, inspirations, and so on. And that's something that's been so helpful to me also in my practice to be able to see things through a different lens and learn new things. And so today, though, I did want to share one of my biggest passions that I have, which is AR, VR. And being in this position as an instructional technologist and being able to play and to share, you know, these great tools with teachers to help create an experience for our students is always one of the things that I love the most. And notice what I said, there's just creating an experience. It's very important that as educators, we do create learning experiences for our students. And now through the use of technology, a lot of school districts moving one-to-one and, you know, being a little bit more hands-on still, you know, within their classrooms and being able to blend the learning. I thought that this tool that I'm going to share with you today would fit very well as we come back to the school year or even now through remote learning. And it is an app. And the wonderful thing about this is it is available for iOS and Android, and it's called Halo AR. Now, if you recall, several years ago, there was an app called Erasma. And then after Erasma, it was, oh my goodness, HP Reveal. And then all of that died out. So then all of a sudden now a Halo AR is a company that kind of really took that same concept, but just elevated and took it to a different level. And it's something that is great. And I found that this would be very useful in the fact that you are able to create collections, and it actually gives you a shareable link to that collection that you can upload into your LMS, whether it's Google Classroom, whether it's Canvas that you're using or any other LMS, as long as the student does have either an iOS device or an Android device. And this could be done in a school setting, you know, where you may have some tablets, you know, a lot of schools do have those available, or for the upper grades, you know, that most students do have access to a mobile device. So the great part is that it is available, for both Android and iOS. So I want to demonstrate here the way that this app works, and the way you're seeing my screen here. I'm going to open up Halo AR, and what you will see here is I have a couple of pictures in just a second. These are collections that are already pre-made right here, and so you can go ahead and try this out to have some fun. This app is completely free. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and click the create option, and now I am going to set a trigger or an image right here. So I'll pick the water cycle. And if you notice, just after clicking that, Halo AR asks me and says, are you going to add a photo gallery to this? Are you going to embed a URL? And the beautiful part about the URL is that it could be a YouTube URL, or it could actually be from your Google Drive itself. So that's something that is great, that I love, and I found very novel, that I can take something that I already have in my Google Drive and pop it in there. You can also create or put in an image URL. So it could be something that you found online, as you're scrolling through your phone, to create these experiences. It does give you the option of 3D models. You can take a picture of yourself and have that be the overlay. You can take a video and have that be the overlay. So you can see what students can do is they can record themselves, similar to what they might do on Flipgrid, except this is not using obviously the Flipgrid platform. But then you can also set up your gallery walks. As parents come in, they get the app, they can walk around, see some of their students' work, or the students can share their work as they move around the classroom or throughout the school. You can add text and dynamic models, and it's just a wonderful experience. So I'm going to share this with you. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and open up YouTube, and I am going to search for a video on the water cycle. It's a water cycle song. All I'm going to do is just click open the video. All I really need is the link. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the link, go back to Halo AR, click video URL, and all I'm going to do is just tap it, and there it is. That's one thing that I love about it. All I have to do is just tap the box and it immediately appears, rather than, paste it in there and so on. So now I'm going to click done. It's going to load up. And now what I'm going to do here, once this loads up, I can go ahead and click on next. And now I can adjust my overlay by pinching my fingers. So I'll go ahead and set it maybe about right there. I'll go ahead and click next, and I'll name this collection my GEG Ohio collection. All right. And notice that you have the ability to make this a private collection, an unlisted collection, or a public collection. So this is something that is great. Now, this, for me personally, being a creator, I love to share my experiences. So what I do actually, if I go to a restaurant and I eat a really good meal, I'll take a picture, I'll create an experience, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll share with other friends that do have the Halo app to say, hey, here's the trigger point, whether it's on a menu or something from the restaurant, and it'll bring up that experience. So it goes beyond education, but I want you to kind of think about the amazing things that you all are already doing. And this is just that little extra seasoning to add an additional layer to what you are already doing. The great thing about this app is you really don't have to worry about the wow factor, because the wow factor takes care of itself. It's just a matter of creating the experience or having the students create that experience. So I'm going to click create collection. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and save. Now, all I'm going to do is just scan, and it's going to go ahead and bring up my video. There you go. Now, of course, you can't hear the audio. I don't think it through here because I didn't do that. But now that is an experience that you have just created. So if I go here to my Halos and I go to GEG Ohio, I want you to notice up here where I'm mousing over, it actually gives you a collection code. So if you have the app, you can copy this, send it, like I said, through your phone. You can put it into your LMS. The student can open it on their device, and now they have access to all of your collections. So that's something that's wonderful there. So let's go ahead and create a different one maybe. And this will be just an example. So now here is my image, butterfly. And let's say that this time what I want to do is I want to take a video, and I'm going to take a video of myself. So I am going to explain the life cycle of a butterfly. So the first step is this, the second step is this, the third step is so on. Or you can have your student just either not face the camera if they are camera shy, similar to what they would do with Flipgrid, as long as you're giving their explanation. I would simply select use video, click next, select GEG Ohio, and that's it. I have just created a learning experience right here where a student is giving me feedback. So now I have a learning artifact that I can see if the student learned the lesson properly. If maybe as a teacher, there might be a misconception that I can explain. Maybe I taught something wrong. So it gives you that feedback that the student has been able to internalize what you are teaching them, but you as a teacher, it also gives you that feedback. So let's go ahead and just do just a different one here. And you notice if you click on gallery, it will open up your photo gallery here. So you can actually add anything that you may have in your photo gallery, whether it's videos, whether it's photos. You can add text here and enter your text and just put in butterfly, click done. And so then that'll be, there you go. Now you see the word butterfly. So again, Halo AR gives you many options that you can use. And the beautiful part about it, like I said, when you create your collections, is this link right here that is shareable. And now I can go into my Google Classroom and I can go to my demo classroom, and all I need to do is just paste the link in there and I'll be ready to go. So I'll go ahead and do my IXL demo, and I'll just go ahead and put it here. Paste. Oops, maybe not. Okay. So sorry about that. Let me see. I might have done something wrong. But let me go back to Halo AR here real quick. There you go. The collection code is copied. And so basically then the student, what they're going to do is they're just going to open up Halo AR. They're going to pop in that code and then, or click on that code, copy and paste it. And then it's going to load up their AR experiences. All right. So again, this is just something that I really wanted to share with you, because for me, just to be able to take that learning to a different level where it makes it kinesthetic, where the students can get up, can scan, can make those connections with the learning, can record themselves observing the, with the learning process, as well as we are always asking for students to amplify their voice. This would be a great tool to do, that you can use and be very creative with it. The best part, again, it's free, it's for iOS, and it is for Android. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I appreciate the time. And I don't know if anybody, I wasn't able to see the chat, but if they have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that they may have. And I think it's the ease of use is definitely very huge. It is a good entry for many of you instructional techs that are out there, or coaches that maybe want to introduce your teachers to augmented reality or virtual reality. This is a great app as an entry level that they can walk through, feel comfortable with. No other additional platforms, nothing else that comes with it. And more than anything, it doesn't come with the price. It's something that you can use, maybe once a week activity. You can use it as often or as little as you like, but it is a tool that's there added to your teacher tool belt.
And just the comments, they say it looks really easy to use. It looks really exciting. This is really cool. So if you do have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and we can address those questions. Star has a really good idea. She said this could be a great for community experience and job training. So she's going to video the students doing the work task, which could be really great for a portfolio for students.
Exactly. And so that's something good too, like for community building, parents come in, depending on how your school year is going to be at the beginning of the year, just something interactive also for your parents to come in that they can scan with their device. They see their child, something that they created, they get excited. They see the work that is being taking place within, for administrators. You can put in, your code. You can share the little image there that is maybe putting an announcement. Maybe you're putting in a surprise. Maybe you're doing a giveaway. You're doing something to motivate. Come by this morning and scan, the experience and see, maybe leave them a positive message, something of that sort. I mean, there's creative ways beyond the classroom that you can use this. Again, it's just all about creating the experiences.
Well, we sure appreciate you being with us today and sharing that. And your contact info is in the agenda document. So if
Yes.
people scroll down to the bottom of the show and tell section, they can see, your podcast, your Twitter account, YouTube channel, lots of great stuff there, and would absolutely encourage everybody to connect with you there. Well, Ian, feel free to hang out with us the rest of the time as well. But we, again, just really want to say thanks for sharing that.
I just wanted to say thank you too. I do have to run. I do have another meeting that I have to get to. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity and the ability to be able to share here with you fine educators. Thank you so much.
Take care. All right. Well, hey, so at this point, John and Stephanie and I will talk about our show and tell items. I know, John, you have to leave a little bit early today, so why don't we, if I don't want to put you on the spot right away, but if you're ready and if you would like to share your resources, you can share your screen and run through the stuff that you wanted to share today. Yep, I think you're muted still.
Yep. Okay, so let me scroll down to the bottom. Did I miss it? There it is. So as I was saying, as we were discussing before we got started with the recording and the meeting, I've been involved in a lot of web design and projects over the years, and I've started to collect things. And so in this second section here, I've got a bunch of graphics and clip art that if people haven't seen them before, Unsplash, LibreStock, and Pexels. Pexels was the newest one that I heard about. But I guess the emphasis is on trying to find good images that you can have your kids use in projects to really, a picture tells 1,000 words. There was a really good presentation that was done by Jason Trin as part of the OETC keynotes. It was earlier this week, and he was just talking about using video in the class, but then there's also been some emphasis on using images. So any one of these places then is going to give you a place where you can search for all kinds of different images that you might want to use. And these can be colorful images that you just want to have in the background of. It might be a slide if you're going to put it in Google Slides, or as we saw earlier, we can put words over the top of our pictures now, because we can put the picture behind the words. So things like making a meme, we used to do those in Google Slides, but we have the flexibility now to put it in all different kinds of places. So I would recommend you try some of these other places. The other thing that I came across was the idea of finding icons. If I did a lot of if you're making interfaces, or you are trying to spice up your slides presentations, and maybe you want to put a home button in there. One of the ideas that we have a lot of teachers use is to make a presentation that is non-linear. So you have a menu, and you can hyperlink to different parts of your document, or being able to put different kinds of icons in there. So like here are the home icons you could find, and then you have a whole different lots of choices of icons that you can use. And just if you find yourself needing something like that, then just make some bookmarks for some of these. I did see a presentation at one of the conferences earlier in the year, and the idea that they had, and I don't remember where it was, but they were essentially prototyping making your own app, and it was using Google Slides. And so in fact, they actually made the Google Slides template so that it was the size of a cell phone screen or a smartphone screen, and then they put a bunch of icons in there. And so I think that was where I came across the idea of using these kinds of icons. So there's two separate choices there. The Noun project was one that Jason mentioned in his presentation, but there's lots of those for you to choose from. And then the last thing I just wanted to piggyback on, I know the GEG, Global GEG is doing their boot camp, and that is you can watch and participate in the YouTube Live event that goes on, and you can get a lot of good information there. Some people are looking for the opportunity to be able to actually take some kind of a course where you have you get given assignments, and we have this. It's a 12-hour self-paced cohort that you can take, and we looked. I mean, there are other agencies that are offering this for considerably more than what we are members, and there's a lot of people that are members of Northern Buckeye Nawaka. These are open free to you if you want to take them. We have level 1 and level 2, and all the information is right there on the cohort website, so you can find out about that and how to take the tests. And I will say, I was watching, I think it was John Sowash, who was another Google educator from Michigan, and he was talking about taking the tests. And I really wanted to encourage, just like Stephanie said, if you're thinking about, and you're not Google certified yet, in John's opinion, that they've actually made, if anything, the test a little bit easier. He thinks that it was, and he gave us an idea of, he's taken the test every year for the last however many years. He had a graph of how long it took him to take it. And so he actually got done with the latest iteration of the test in about half the time that it takes to take the test. So I would encourage people to check that out. And as Stephanie said, it's $10, which is not expensive, and certainly nice to have that Google Certified Educator badge to put with your other badges there. So that's all the stuff that I've got to share, and I will turn the sharing back off again, and I'll hang in there for a bit longer.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, John. And everybody definitely take advantage of the links in John's portion of the show and tell in the agenda there. Awesome. Stephanie, did you want to go ahead and share your resources?
Yeah, I can. As I'm sharing my screen, I love Unsplash. And so I'm so glad John shared that, because that is such a good website to find photos that you can use. And what I like to do with those photos is add them to now what we're going to call the slides theme, right? Is that the new name?
Slide builder.
Slide builder. That's going to take me a while.
Theme builder, right?
Theme builder.
Theme builder. We both are wrong.
I know. Hey, we still call this Google Apps, so that's 2 generations back. So it'll take a while.
To go to the master slide or the theme builder and make that image a little bit transparent, and so then you can add words over top of it to get that graphic look. So that's like one of my favorite things to do. So thank you for sharing that again. So some of my shares, 3V Vision. So with a lot of different talk with diversity kind of going on and all of these different things coming up with different perspectives, I figured this idea that is an Edu protocol is really easy to use with students. And so how this would work is students would come into the classroom, and this might be up on the board, this image. And so they'll see this image, and then they have to come up with a couple different viewpoints based on this image. So right here, the positive view of this image might be she's a young person. It looks like she's outside. She has really cute fingernails, and it looks like she's trying to minimize the spread of COVID. A negative view might be that she's touching her face. It maybe reminds you of the rising COVID deaths. And then you might kind of ask kids, like, what kind of questioning could we use to see like what might happen? And so like, what is she looking at? What country is she in? Why is she touching her face? What does this expression in her eyes mean? And so that can kind of help students see the different points of view that we all might have in this world. So feel free to use this template, but I just thought it'd be an easy way to add a bell ringer into your classroom and also kind of create that classroom culture to include inclusivity and get students thinking about what are other people thinking. As we wrap up this school year, our teachers have been done for a week. You might want to write a future letter to yourself. So what have you learned this year? What have you done? And then you can decide when this email gets delivered to your inbox. It's kind of like when you went to summer camp and you wrote a letter and then they sent it mid winter or something like that. And then you got this random letter that was like, oh, all these things you're going to do. And maybe you didn't or did do them. And so what you do is you just go in here, you write a letter to yourself, and then you can decide when to send this. You could also make this letter private or public. And then you could add your email address or another email address if you wanted to send it to somebody else. So maybe you send this your first day back to school and it says like, these are all the different skills I learned this year because of COVID. Just thought it could be a fun, reflective activity that you could do and kind of reflect on how much has changed since this past school year to next school year or the end of next school year. The next one is an exit ticket builder. So right here is a really fun template. And if you go over here to the different themes, you can see all of these different exit tickets that have been built in the theme builder. That's going to get really hard to say. And you just kind of click, and then you can see that you could real quickly add this exit ticket for your students to do, or you could even give them some choice and have them pick which ones they would want to do. So what could I, the teacher, do differently to help you learn? Again, real quick, exit ticket for the students to do. You go back to that drop down. Maybe you do the shirt, design a t-shirt that represents something you learned today. Okay, maybe you want a different one. Again, there's all these different templates that you're able to kind of use. Write names of as many people you learned about today as you can. So then they have to go in and add whatever they learned. Maybe it's vocabulary words instead of people. You can go in and edit these words. Mine has not updated yet. So if you go to slides, edit master, it's going to have a new name. So just make sure you know that. And then you can go right here and you can change people to vocab words. You can go in here and say, maybe I don't want them to design a t-shirt. Maybe I want them to design socks. You can do that. Whatever you kind of want to change, you can do that in the template. Template slides. I don't think I said that right.
Theme builder.
Yes. And then I also love this template. It had ideas on how students can watch videos. And so sometimes we just have students watch videos and then we don't have them do anything with it. And so this template has the video right here, and then the kids can quickly summarize. There's a lot of research out there that you should have the video and like the notes side by side. So this can help students. They can watch the video and they can take notes right at the same time. They can pause it. They can fast forward it. They could do whatever, but then they have their little notes right beside it. And then they can do that as they're watching it. This one is kind of like a fill in the blank. Here's a write 5 locations will you visit. Here's one about Fahrenheit. So just different examples of how you can use video side by side with Google Slides to allow students to kind of write and summarize what they've learned in that video. And then this next one is really fun. I found this on Twitter. And what you do is you find a quote from a book, a movie, probably more of a book. And so what students will do is they will see the quote from the book. So this is from Fahrenheit. I don't talk things, sir. I talk the meaning of things. I sit here and know I'm alive. So there's the quote for the students. And what the students then do in the speaker notes is they have to explain what photo they picked that went along with that quote. So here's the quote. They picked this image from the Matrix, and then they explain why they picked that quote in the speaker notes. So it's kind of taking it, the reading, and then applying it to like a movie or a TV show or some image that they've seen somewhere. And then they can go in and explain why they picked that image that went along with that quote. So just could be a really quick, fun, engaging activities for your students. And maybe you have the image and they have to find the quote in the book. So it could be kind of fun to see, like, what do they come up with? Or maybe it's their reading that they're doing independently. What are they reading about, and what quotes do they find in their own books that could go with different images as well? And those are all my shares today. So Eric, it's your turn.
Well, thank you. And as always, wonderful stuff. So many good things. All right, guys. Well, I'll go ahead and share my screen, and We will pull this back up. Here we go. Before I go into my show and tell, I did want to say thanks to Star, who asked a question and then answered her own question, and because I didn't know the answer, and so I had I misspoke, and I apologize for that. The question was, can you do alt text for pictures? And I said I couldn't figure out how to do it and thought maybe it wasn't available in Docs, and nope, it is. You just need to right click on the photo. So I clicked about every other thing I could. I was going into the image options and so forth. Nope, it's a right click on the photo, and then you'll see alt text in the context menu. I went ahead and did that and filled in like a title and a description for the thumbs up image. So that would be then in there as alt text if somebody was using, for example, like a screen reader. So awesome. It is there, probably has been there forever. And again, I apologize for speaking incorrectly on that, but thank you, Star, for getting us back on track with the correct information. All right, real quick, my show and tell things for this month. First up, got a couple of new blog posts on my Control Alt Achieve site. The first one, so this is just a template for next school year. So one of my colleagues likes to create a one-pager where basically it is a single page that has all 12 months of the year on it, and then on either side of it. So like, here's an example. This is, well, let me see if I find one that's actually filled in a little bit better there. So here's an example. So you've got the calendars down the middle, and then on the left and the right, there's spots here to fill in the specific events, and then you can color code the dates on the calendars to go with those. And basically what you get is a one-pager document that has, you know, the whole calendar for the full year. Well, I guess maybe Word, maybe Microsoft Word has this as a default template. It has existed somewhere, and because my colleague had used it in the past, and I believe maybe through Publisher or through Microsoft Word. And they were like, well, I'd love to do this in Google Docs, but when I try to, you know, bring it over from Word into Docs, it gets all goofy. So I went ahead and took a little bit of time and created two versions, a 12-month and an 11th-month version. The 11th-month version was by the request of that colleague, because they don't necessarily do a lot with July, and it gives them some extra room to be able to fill in some more information. So simply come here, give a click on these, and you can make a copy. It's really straightforward. It's just basically the 2021-22 school calendar. And so starting in August and running through July, you can come over to the side and type in any information you want on the side for each month. And then of course you can click inside of these cells and use the little paint can fill button, you know, to fill those in if you wanted to, you know, put some color in on any of those, kind of like I show down here in the bottom here with this animated GIF showing those things getting added in. So, hey, if that's beneficial to you, wonderful. I ended up, you know, creating it for somebody who I work with who needed it, and figured, well, hey, maybe some other people would benefit from it. So certainly feel free to use that if that is helpful. Not that you necessarily want to think about next school year yet. I realize that, but put it in your back pocket if that's something that would be helpful in the future. I also put in a link to the end of year classroom cleanup tips. Pretty much the same stuff I've shared in the past, a little bit of changes this year. So I did update a few things. Some of the menus look a little bit different in Classroom. So I've got some different screenshots in there for just some things to run through as you're cleaning up your Google Classroom at the end of the school year. The next two are not Google related, but hey, they're cool things. So I figured I would throw them in. One is a post on how big is space, and four different simulations that can help you and your students explore that. And each one of these is really cool. And they show the massiveness of space in different ways. So if the moon were 1 pixel is one of the simulations, space race is another one, the scale of the universe is the third, and then the size of space is the fourth. And they all take a little bit of a different approach to helping you explore how big the universe is, but they would be a great option for folks to use in science class to let students experiment with those ideas. And then the last post I had on my blog was another webinar. This one was on a tool called Mathagon. Totally free, no cost whatsoever. Mathagon is a completely free tool, and it has loads of really neat activities in it. If you've ever used the Polypad tool, that's probably one folks are a little bit more familiar with. You just may not have realized it was part of Mathagon. Polypad is a really nice whiteboard with loads and loads of math manipulatives that you can use, and they're not just drag and drop and like, oh, here's a pattern block. They're actually interactive. They do a lot of really neat things. Great way to teach with. But then they also have free courses that they're developing for grades 6 through 12 that are really interactive and really instructive, as well as other cool things like the timeline of mathematics and so forth. So check out that 1-hour webinar that was recorded back on May 13th. And you can see all that great information there. Beyond that, a couple of things I came across in the last month that I wanted to get on your radar. If you are a fan of The Office, this might seem familiar. So if you run a Google search for the phrase DVD screensaver, it will start. It may take a moment for it to start. There it goes. You can now see the word Google is now bouncing around my screen after I search for DVD screensaver, just like those old, screensavers did when you had, a TV and a DVD attached to it and it was, not actively playing something. The little DVD logo would move around. And there's a famous scene in The Office where it's hysterical, where everybody's watching it. And anyway, I won't go into the details there, but check that out if you haven't. But anyway, just a little fun little Easter egg there as a new option in Google search. Next up, this is not new, but it was new to me. I don't know how I missed this when it came through. So these links go back to, this was like a December 2020 post. And then here's one from Android Police that was, I think, back in January. Now, this is going to be if you're using, it's called Emoji Kitchen. If you're using Gboard keyboard on your phone. So it's very specific to that. So if you are using the Gboard keyboard, which is what I use on my phone, Google has done this really interesting thing. So obviously we know we've got emojis. Everybody's got obviously the emoji option on your keyboard. Turns out what they did is they allow you now, well, as of back in December, at least, if not further back, they allow you to put two emojis next to each other. And after you put the two emojis next to each other, it'll give you suggestions below of a hybrid emoji from the two emojis. So like if you put, a smiley face in a fire, it'll be a flame wearing the glasses from the smiley face. And they've got a bunch of examples here. And then the Android Police article really goes into detail. They go into great detail saying they had fun with this and they wanted to try it out. And so they give a list of like some of their favorites. So you come down here and they've got 60 of their favorite combinations. And some of these are crazy, but not every single emoji can be paired with another, but I think the number was really high. I think they said they had made, 14,000 combinations. So there's 14,000 valid combinations that give you these new emojis. Now, what it does is it doesn't make it as an emoji, it makes it as a sticker. So you can then send it and it doesn't matter. As long as the person on the other end receiving it is using a device that supports stickers, which I think every device would, they're going to see this. So, so really kind of neat to explore. It reminds me, I don't know if you guys ever used to play that game. Oh, I'm going to forget what it was called now. But it was one where you were dragging and dropping things together to try to combine the elements. You started like with earth, air, wind, and fire. You tried to make everything. And it's Little Alchemy. Little Alchemy was the name of it. It reminds me of that. You're combining emojis and making all of these new creations out of them. So anyway, have a little fun with that. I'm not sure about all the applications, but I thought it was cool and wanted to share that. Next up is a product called Schoolytics. And again, I only like to share free things. I mean, I have no problem with products that cost money, but I love it when they have a free version, I guess is what I mean. So this is, again, a product that is a paid product, but has a free version. And so I'm always excited to share those kind of things. So Schoolytics is a data dashboard for Google Classroom, and it really is free for teachers. There's no gotchas. There's nothing tricky about it. It really is free for teachers. If you want to use it district-wide and be able to pull data from a district perspective, that's where the money would come in. And also, if you want to use it and give students or parents their own dashboards, that's part of the paid version. So student view, parent view, and like district administrator view, those are part of the paid versions. But the free version, it's like super simple. You go to the site, you click on get started, you just log in with your Google account, and that's it. Now I'm going to use their demo here because obviously I wouldn't want to show real data here. So this is their demo. And basically what it does is it just pulls all of the data from your Google Classroom, and it makes this really nice dashboard, this data dashboard. In this case, it's pulled in just a few courses because, again, this is just a demo. So it's pulled in, these courses that they have loaded in their demo and the students that they have loaded in their demo. But then it does all kinds of amazing reports like engagement, disengaged students, honor roll, demographic reports. And for even, like the engagement, you can come in here and you can say, I want to go into the configuration and, see the percentage of engaged students, or I want to look at, coursework created, student submissions, students using video. Okay, hadn't seen that one before. Work completion rate. And then you can also drill down into these. If you go into, a course, you can, click on the drill down and drill down in and go, into individual, elements for courses and students and so forth. That's pretty cool. I mean, I know Google's going to be adding what they call engagement data or something like an engagement tracker thing that they mentioned it months ago, but it hasn't shown up yet that I've seen in Classroom that maybe will do a little bit of this kind of thing. But wow, for something that's totally free, I think this would be a really neat thing for teachers to play around with and see what sort of data they can get on their students from a quick glance. Now, again, the paid version has I'm on the administrator view. Sorry, here's the teacher view. It's okay. It looks very much the same. I just forgot I hadn't switched it. That's the administrator view. But again, very, very similar. Here's the teacher view. Here's that teacher's courses. Here's their students. Here's the missing assignments. And then again, they can, drill into their students and their courses and so forth. So the teacher view, that's the one that's completely free there. The administrator view just gives you your whole district. Then they have a parent view where parents can go in and take a look at their individual students, look up their missing assignments, things like that. That's awesome. And then there's a student view as well. But those are part of the paid version. Anyway, though, looks really cool. Go to their website to learn more. They've got some videos that run through an overview of it as well. A lot of neat stuff to explore there. Then I think the last thing I have is AppSheet. And this is not new either. This has been around for a while, but they just did a new post like today, yesterday, where they put together a really nice, like 9-minute video taking you through how to use it. And they would say, what is AppSheet? It's a lot like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Glide. Glide is a product that's been around for a while that lets you take a Google spreadsheet and make a mobile app out of it. Well, AppSheet is Google's version of that, basically. And so there's a really nice, here's that demo video. It's like 9 minutes long. And then, here's the blog post about it. And then here's the AppSheet website. And really, it is pretty slick. You create a Google spreadsheet that has your data in it. And then from the Google spreadsheet, you launch AppSheet. And it walks you through with no coding whatsoever, building a mobile app out of the data in your spreadsheet. So a lot like Glide, really, really powerful though. It is completely free for personal use. So if you're just creating your own, app that you want to use, like in the blog post here, the guy who did this was doing it for a journaling app. He wanted to make an app where he could go in and pick an emoji for each day and click on what activities he did that day and take a few notes for himself. So that's wonderful. That in itself is great. I could see this being used in a lot of, tech classes, STEM classes, coding classes. But what I thought was cool, I dug into the pricing. And if it turns out, if you are an enterprise user, like a plus user, they're saying that you can use the full version. Well, I shouldn't say full version. You can use it with other people. Let's put it that way. So by saying personal apps, that means you're just using it for yourself. But if you have, if you're a plus customer, and again, I have not tried this out. We do have Plus where I work, but I have not tried it out to confirm it. But this is from their pricing page. So I don't know if it applies to Education Plus or not, or if it's just enterprise. I don't know. Need to look into that a little bit more. But that was encouraging that it might be something you could use across your organization. I just don't know if it applies to education or not. But even if not, even if it's just for the personal use, what a neat, quick way to create an app there. So those were the things that popped up on my radar here recently. We're going to take a look at Q&A next, but anything that got missed there, Stephanie? Did you see anything pop up in the chat or comments that we need to address from show and tell before we move on?
A lot of people were excited about the emojis.
Yeah. People are probably just doing that now. They're just combining emojis.
Yes, yes, they are. And it doesn't look like it works on iOS. So,
I believe you're probably right. I think it's Gboard on Android, but somebody on iOS could receive the stickers from somebody else. But yeah, I think that
because right. Melissa's saying she's like texting her coworker right now, and her poor coworker is really jealous.
That's great. All right. Well, the last thing we're going to do is take a quick look at Q&A. If you still have questions that you haven't put in here yet, please feel free to add those in, or if you've got things to add in as responses, that would be wonderful as well. As a reminder, Stephanie added in the spot here about watch party ideas as to if anybody has any thoughts about doing a watch party with the Anywhere School event coming up June 22nd. But some of the things that have popped up, did see a blurb here about how with the update to Smart Canvas on Google Docs, some people have said that some extensions are already crashing. Not sure which ones, but we do have reports of that. There was a question about boot camps, not for educator 1 or 2, but for trainer. The suggestion was to see what Casey Bell from Shake Up Learning may have on that. There was a question here about embedding a Jamboard into a Google site. I tried that during the time when other folks were sharing just to see, and I was not able to get it to do that. I went into Google Sites and I went to my drive and I chose a jam file, and it acted like it was going to add it in, but it didn't. Nothing added in. It just didn't put it in. So I don't think it supports Jamboard files yet. There's a question about can we add background images to Google Meet? And I'm assuming by personal or branded, I believe the question, and if I misunderstood this, I apologize. I believe what you're meaning is custom background images rather than using the Google Meet background images that are provided. The answer is yeah, we've actually had that for maybe a month or two, but it has to be turned on in the admin console. So in the admin console, you go to the groups that you want, and there's a spot where you can say, let users select custom images. And that allows you to do that, yes. Yeah. And there was a question here that no, I'm not aware. If somebody knows how to do this, that'd be great. The question was, could you, in like a Google Doc or a PowerPoint, have a hyperlink that jumps to an email to pull up the body of the email? I don't think so. I mean, every email has a unique link, but that link is to your inbox and your email, which is private to you. So I don't think that link would resolve properly for somebody else, because it would just try to open up their inbox and say, you know, that it couldn't find the message. That would be my guess on that. Yeah. All right. Anything else there before we wrap up?
There were some community shares, so just check out the community shares when you get a chance. Some of it
great.
had to do with closed captions.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like they've got a list of apps for both iOS and Android, users to reference, and a short video to learn more about it from O'Callaghan. Awesome. I'm Magic Star shared that as well. So thank you so much. That's wonderful. Excellent. I did see a question in the chat. I don't know if that was a rhetorical question or not, but Peggy asked, does anything embed on Google Sites? Yeah, I mean, really loads of things. I mean, if you're in a Google site, you can embed Google Calendars, you can embed documents, your Google Slides, spreadsheets, drawings, but you can also embed things from other services. There's a button in there to click to do an embed. And if you have the embed code from, you know, other third-party services that will provide an embed code, it'll take those. Just not Jamboard yet, but yeah, pretty much any other service that will provide an embed code. Yes, you absolutely can do that. All right. Well, I believe we have made it through all of our resources here. If anybody has any additional questions or comments, please feel free to throw those in the YouTube chat or to put them in the Q&A section or add them to the document here. But before we wrap up, just a quick reminder that this will be our last meeting for the school year. So we do take the summer off from GEG Ohio. A couple of reasons. One is obviously a lot of people are gone and out and about, but also Google does not release a lot of updates in the summer. It just seems to really slow down. Now, when we're going to start back up, we're chatting about, you know, when that will be. We might have a meeting at the end of August as like a back to school meeting. If not, for sure, we will do that at the end of September, you know, and start back to our monthly meetings at that point. We typically skip December because of the holidays there, and we typically skip June and July. We'll see what updates come out through the summer. And if it looks like it warrants an August meeting, we will absolutely have one if it looks like that is the way to go. If there's a lot of updates and things that would be great for back to school. We will keep everybody, of course, informed of that in a number of ways through the email distribution group that we have, the GEG Ohio group. Definitely join that if you have not already, but also through all of the channels that we share everything out on through, you know, Twitter and all the Facebook groups and things like that. And of course, you can always go to bit.ly/GEG Ohio to our GEG Ohio website. We have a Facebook group as well, specifically for GEG Ohio, and we will update information in all of those things. And of course, just a reminder, if you haven't signed in yet, don't forget to sign in to get your certificate of attendance. That is under important links. That'll take you to a Google form. be real quick. Just fill that out to submit and let us know that you watched the video. If you watched it live, great. But hey, if you watched it recorded, that's okay too. You can still fill out this form after watching the recording and still get a certificate of attendance and let us know that you participated that way. Anything else, Stephanie, before we wrap up?
I think you covered it, but everyone have a great, restful summer. I know a lot of us have had a stressful, crazy, not normal year. So make sure you do take some time for yourself and relax and enjoy it.
Couldn't say it better myself. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful summer.